Hi, this is Lindsay. Welcome back to my channel. So this is the long-awaited Halloween junk journal tutorial. Thank you so much for being patient. I know we are at the end of September, but you should still have enough time to get this done to use in October. This was quite the project, and I really enjoyed doing it. So I've sped this up times 2, or it's twice as fast as I was doing it, so you can kind of see. So in your kit, and this kit is still available in my shop and it is discounted, so you can still purchase one, but in your kit, you're going to grab your cardstock that I've put in there for a cover. This is the one I have, and I cut it to 5 by 8. And now I'm taking black ink and just really messing up the edges with this grungy ink. I'm really going for a kind of dark and grungy Halloween fall type journal. There are elements of Thanksgiving in this as well. So that's the basis of my cover. Now I'm pulling out all my pages, and there should be 10 different pages in your kit. So I'm just making sure that I have all 10 of mine, and I'm going to fold all of them in half. The cardstock, the coffee dyed papers, the book pages, and then there's a sheet here with skulls and script, and this is from Digital Curio. It is just a freebie that was on her Facebook group, Digital Curio, but she's going to be releasing an entire Halloween kit. It might already be out, I'm not sure, but you definitely need to go over to her Etsy shop and check that out. She was very kind to let me include those items in this journal. So now I'm just making sure all the papers are trimmed down so that they will fit inside the 5 by 8 cover. I'm pretty much just taking about a 1/4 inch off, like I'm going about 4 3/4 by 7 3/4, about, or as close as I can get to that, to go within the journal. So I'm just making sure all of the pages are a similar size. And here's a tip where I save some time. I will stack up to 4 folded in half pieces of coffee dyed paper and then trim them all together so they're the same size, and it saves me having to do each one individually. So now that I have all of them, I'm going to take that same black ink pad and I'm just going to ink some of the edges. I really like how this black ink looks on the coffee dyed paper because it is picking up the little creases and crinkles, and it's just becoming a part of the paper. I think it looks kind of gothic aged. I don't really know if that's a thing, but that's what comes to mind. I'm also inking up this Digital Curio page, but I will not touch the book pages. And then I'm inking up this orange piece of cardstock as well, and just getting it really dirty. And my hands are dirty and I'm getting black fingerprints on some of it, and I'm totally okay with that. This is a Halloween themed journal, so I think black fingerprints are kind of cool. I'm just selecting pages now, and there's no particular order. I'm just going with my gut and what I like next to each other, and I try to not have two terribly competing things next to each other, just so that each one can kind of tell its own story. So I'm putting it inside the cover, and now a few things that are not included in the kit. There's no awl, so you're going to need a push pin or a big needle or an awl to poke the holes, unless you're using your sewing machine. And then also paper clips, but that is super easy to get. So we're just poking 3 holes, 1 in the middle and 1 on each side. I just eyeball it. I don't think it matters that much. So I have a needle here, and then in the kit you have some brown thread for sewing in the signatures. So that's what I have here. It's a thick, kind of rusticy brown yarn thread, and I am just threading my needle, and I am going to pamphlet stitch this in. One of the easiest stitches for junk journals is just a simple 3-hole pamphlet stitch. You definitely do not want to miss putting in or clipping on those paper clips, because if your pages start slipping, you will never find all those holes. I've done that before when I first started making junk journals, and you will definitely want to bang your head on the wall trying to line up the pages otherwise. So just tie a really tight knot, trim off any excess, and your journal is done. That is the entire base of your journal. You could stop there if you wanted to. Make sure that your pages are going the right way before you do the cover. But now I'm going to decorate the cover. So I'm choosing this Edgar Allan Poe Digital Curio image, and I'm fussy cutting around the edge of it. I'm not trying too hard to cut out each individual element because there's a lot of little pieces here. So I'm just trying to evenly fussy cut around it. And then I'm going to grab the black ink again and ink up the edges. And that's how I get away with doing that. And you could just put that on the cover just as it is, but I love layering. So you have a little piece of kind of ivory ecru colored lace that comes from a lace curtain that I cut up, and so I'm going to use that and a little piece of black lace. You have a bag of lace in the kit that has reds and oranges and purples and blacks and those type of colors. So I'm sure you can find one in the bag that you would like if you want to do it the same way as me. I'm going to take this to my sewing machine. I stitched around it with a jagged zigzag stitch, and now I'm taking some Fabrifix. I think a hot glue gun would be a lot faster, but I do not have a hot glue gun plugged in over here by my filming station. So Fabrifix works really, really well. I just don't like how hard I have to squeeze to squeeze it out. So I'm placing that on the cover, pressing it down, giving it a second to dry. And I'm trying to figure out if I want to add anything else on the cover because it still is pretty plain. But I'm just digging through my kit and I found a little black label. You have in your kit 5 different pieces of ephemera or stickers or elements, and they're all different. But I found this black label in my kit, and I'm just going to leave a blank label on the front so that the recipient of this journal can write the date, write their name, write a creepy word, whatever they want to do. And if you guys like this journal, the completed one here, it will be listed on my Etsy shop. So if you did not get the kit or you don't have time to make a Halloween journal, this one is ready to ship. It will go in the mail next day, and I'll be glad to get that to you guys. So here I'm going right on the inside cover, and I'm going to use one of these Digital Collage Club Halloween mason jars, and you can go to www.digitalcollageclub.com and get these for yourself if you would like. They're an amazing digital, but I'm cutting that out and I'm going to make a corner tuck spot so that I can tuck in a journal card on the front. Now I'm going to be decorating this journal the way that I normally decorate my journals. It is a little bit lighter embellishing than most of my journals, but I would say it's a medium embellishing. I do a lot like this, but I usually start with the inside cover and I decorate all the way through. So these are osteographica images, and we're going to be making journal cards. There's 16 that come in the kit, and I have sprayed them with some red glimmer mist, red tulip glimmer mist, to make it look like kind of like a blood splatter. And here I am making journal cards. I take a glue stick and then I cut it out, or place on the coffee dye paper on the back. Cut it out, and then I use my sewing machine to stitch around the edge. Now, I'm not going to show all this because it would take forever to cut all of them out, so I'm going to pause it and be back with them all completed. If you do not have a sewing machine, just make sure that the glue or the tape runner goes all the way to the edge so that the paper is secure. So there we go, all jagged stitched around and ready to go in the journal. When you're making your journal, don't feel like you have to use all the elements in the kit. I don't. I only use what my creative muse tells me to do, so whatever my gut tells me. So I just use, the ones that I want. And this is how I work through the journal. I work from left to right as if I were reading or writing in it. So you have pieces of this Indian fabric. I think it's polyester. It's not sari. It was an Indian rug that I took apart, but it's still from India. And I'm just cutting off a piece, and I'm going to make a fabric tip-in. I'm going to cut a piece, stitch the edge, and glue it in so that it can be lifted, and some secret journaling can be done underneath, which might be good for a Halloween journal if you're writing something kind of creepy or scary or something you don't want shown when you're flipping your journal through for a friend. So there we go. I'm using this little orange piece, gluing it in, and there we go. My son pulled on the camera and my whole thing jiggled, so it took me a second to reorient, but yeah. So my reasoning, I'm going to talk about my reasoning about the way I decorate. A lot of people decorate the pages before they put them into the junk journal, and that's perfectly fine. But I do it this way because I find it to be natural, organic, and cohesive. I really feel that going from left to right really is the way we read and the way we create most of the time. So that's how I like to decorate my journals. I get the most cohesive look that way. So now I'm going to make a fabric border for this piece of cardstock. It's a little bit shorter than the rest, and it's a really thick cardstock. So I just stitched a zigzag stitch down some of this Indian fabric, and I'm going to just glue it to the edge so that it kind of sticks out and makes a little bit of a fabric ruffle. If this glue would cooperate, then that would definitely save me some time. I have to use both hands to squeeze it out. I think it might be drying out and I'm getting to the end of it, but I don't want to waste any of it. You all know Fabrifix is expensive, even when you get it on sale. So I'm just pressing it down, making sure that it has a second to dry, and I flip to the next page. I'm just looking through all my journal cards and deciding what I want to do and clipping. Now, remember, paper clips are not included in the kit, but you can get those anywhere, dollar store, wherever. Just clipping those on. I'm just deciding which pages I want to put ephemera on, and I'm going to put a piece on this copy dyed page because the book page on the other side does not have any images. There's really nothing to look at, so I am going to clip that on. And the book pages are from a vintage medical book called Gray's Anatomy. So if you're not, if I didn't tell you that or you didn't see my previous video on that, that's what those book pages are. So this is a vintage pumpkin image that comes with your kit as well. It's a print of one. And I decided that I'm going to rip around it to just kind of give a ripped look, and then I'm going to make a layered pocket. I'm going to use a piece of upholstery fabric that comes in the kit, and I'm going to layer it on. So I have some, I hope I'm trying to find the right ink. That was not the right ink. Not that it matters, but that was a brown, and I'm trying to use black. So here I am just inking around the edges. I decided not to do any stitching or sewing on this one. I'm trying to show how you can still make this journal without using sewing, just glue. I use sewing a lot because that is just my thing, but you definitely do not have to. So I'm deciding where I want it layered, pulling out the glue, and voila. Fabrifix holds really, really tight. That's one thing I love about it, so I'm not worried about it really coming up or off. And the upholstery fabric that I have here, two of the edges have kind of factory stitching already on it, so I'm not going to worry about any sewing. I'm just going to, again, use the Fabrifix and go around the bottom and the two edges and just put it on there. Push it down. The top is open, so I can slip in a journal card. I'm just going to pick one that I think, I don't know, goes well with this spread. Not that it matters really that much, but usually my gut tells me which one. And this one I think is of like a cat or something, and I thought that just kind of went well. I don't know. And then I'm grabbing another piece of ephemera. This says Dream. It has some autumn looking flowers, and I'm going to just kind of layer that on here just for another layer to look at and another layer to feel. It does not have much bulk. It's just a piece of like ephemera cardstock, I guess. And then we have a vintage highlights book page. And then on this side, I'm cutting out an ATC card from Digital Collage Club. And since I printed it on 110-pound ivory cardstock, there's really nothing I need to do but cut it out and ink it because it is already vintage looking. It already has a lot of substance to it. That makes it super easy. So if you have not already invested in some ivory cardstock, then you probably want to do that if you print a lot of digitals, because it will save you a lot of time trying to back your images with things. And then I'm pulling out this cute little skull and crossbones, and I'm going to clip them both on here as just little pieces of ephemera that can be used throughout the journal. So whoever buys this journal, a lot of these things are clipped in. You can just glue them where you want or put them in other Halloween journals or whatever. So since I already have a clip here on this side, I am just clipping in another finished journal card. And then I have some Halloween postcards here from Digital Collage Club as well. And again, printed on 110-pound ivory cardstock. So ready to go. Just have to cut it out and ink it. You know, this does not look sped up to me. And I'm really thinking that I only sped up the beginning of this. And that's why the rest of this is taking so long. Very funny. Well, not really funny because you guys have to watch it all. But now you see it in regular time. This is how long it actually takes me. So I was like, at some point we started going slower. And that's because I filmed this in 3 separate clips. And I only sped up the first clip. True confessions. I could start over, but that would take forever. So I'm just going to... I move pretty quickly anyway, so hopefully you guys don't mind this level of slowness or fastness, whatever you consider it. I'm taking another one of these mason jars and cutting it out. And I'm just going to use this one as a piece of ephemera. So, since I'm going at normal speed and there's not as much to talk about, you're just watching me here, I want to talk just briefly about what is coming up for the November journal. I'm really excited. It's something that we have not done or made before. It is a journal, but it's just a different concept, and I'm excited about putting that together, and that should be up either later today or tomorrow. That's my hope. I really hope that you guys will craft along with me and purchase the kit, because I think it's kind of unique. Putting on some stickers here, just fall leaves. I'm really trying to add in a little touch of November as well. And what I think is really neat about that, and when you're making Halloween journals, if you add a little bit of pumpkin, a little bit of fall leaves, a little bit of those type of a thing, I think that you can use the journal into November. So say you're using the journal in October, like for an October daily, or for your to-do list, or your calendar, or your art journal, or whatever in October. And then October gets away from you and it gets really busy, like, you know, our lives get. And so you're at the end of October and you've only used half your journal, or a quarter of your journal, or 3/4 of your journal. You don't have to put it on the shelf unfinished. You can still put things from November into it. And I think being versatile is great. And if you do use it all up in October, I think having those things about Thanksgiving in November is still good, because if you're planning into the next month, then planning things, you know, who are you going to invite for Thanksgiving? What is going to be your meal plan? You're probably not deciding all that the day before Thanksgiving. You may even be thinking about it in October or at the very beginning of November. So I think having places and little things like that is nice to have in a Halloween journal. Another reason I put it in there is because I'm not a huge Halloween fan. I enjoy working. I love Edgar Allan Poe, and I love some creepy, spooky, unexplained things. I love cryptozoology, stuff like that. But I am not a huge spook person. I just am not. I hate April Fool's Day. I hate being scared, unless it's a good movie. So, I don't really do a whole lot for Halloween. I don't know. Let me know in the comments below what you guys do for Halloween, and what's your plans and what are your traditions. Growing up, we used to hand out candy to kids. My mom would sometimes let us dress up. We did not celebrate Halloween. We would just try to be nice to kids, and sometimes we would hand out candy or things like that, other things like that to kids, but we really didn't celebrate it. As an adult, and after I got married, my husband's family also didn't really celebrate it, but they would have pizza and carameled apples and popcorn and stuff like that. Apple cider, caramel apple slices, stuff like that. So we kind of incorporated some of that into our new family traditions, since I really didn't have any. And where we live, kids do not go door to door, and I mean, back in the early 90s, mid 90s, there was a lot more going door to door than there is today. I have 3 little boys now who absolutely love the concept of Halloween as pertaining to costumes and candy. So last year they dressed up as, I think it was Ninja Turtles. And then after Halloween, I bought them Captain America and Iron Man costumes that were 75% off at Walmart. This year, I don't know. I just have a real hard time paying $20 to $30 for a costume, and I don't really have time to make them. But I know I'll do something special. We live near, not too far away from an apple orchard, and they usually have a little thing of candy for the kids. So I don't really take them, at least at this point. They're only 5, 3, and 2. I don't really take them to any of the big events. We take a walk over to the apple orchard, and they get a piece of candy and get to show off their costume to the nice lady that works there. So we will probably do that again this year. It was just nice and peaceful. Anyway, so I know I'm just chattering and jabbering a lot, but if you're working on making your journal, you might like to just hear that. And I like to hear about you guys, so I would really like to know what you guys like to do for Halloween. So check back in with what I'm doing here. Same thing. I am inking pages and gluing them on and all that fun stuff. So this is just one of the digital curio ephemera pieces, and it's like a spooky book page, and I'm just going to be gluing it on. And I'm taking my dear sweet time because I was planning on speeding this entire thing up, which I didn't. So yeah. This year is also going to be extremely interesting, trying to do Halloween holiday foods and stuff like that. My husband and I are both definitely watching what we eat. I am dairy-free, gluten-free. He is gluten-free, soy-free for the most part. He's like a whole bunch of things free. And we're really trying to eat healthier. He was hypoglycemic and needed to change his diet, and he's much healthier and doing great, and I needed to change my diet for some stomach issues and things I had as well. So we won't be having all the junk food and sodas and that kind of stuff, that candy that we normally would, but we can still find great substitutes and things like that. So let me know in the comments below what your favorite healthy holiday meal is, because I'm trying to relearn an entire lifetime of just, eating traditional American food that isn't always the best for you. So I am putting 2 different journal cards behind there because there was room, and I am just about at the end. This is the final page. So I am not going to use everything. The rest can just go into my stash or made to use another journal. Go with, what flows organically, which is why I go from left to right. And I'm putting, since I have so many extra journal cards, and I don't think I'm going to be making any more Halloween journals because I'm kind of out of time and I still have a lot of other journals to make, I'm just going to clip 2 on that page and slip one in there. Look at that cute little skeleton. He's so adorable. And then branding is important as well. And so I have a stamp here. It says established, EST, and it has a place for a date, but I'm going to use it to write my shop name. I'm just inking it up, and I'm going to stamp it at the top and write my shop name, which is Nevermore Creations 17. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm going to do a quick flip through here as soon as I'm done writing out my shop name, just in case anybody wanted to purchase the journal and they wanted to see it as a completed whole. You can see what it looks like. But I'm probably not going to talk through that since I have already explained the process. I really like how it came out. It is only 5x8, wonderful to slip into a purse or put into your backpack, or even throw into the dashboard of your car if you're busy and you want to take it to doctor's appointments or visiting family or whatever. You have a wonderful journal to write all your October, November things in. So here's the flip through. I'll see you all in the next video. Check out the links below and stay tuned for our next project for November.